If I'm early, I'm on time. If I'm on time, then I'm late. I've said this before in a previous video, but something that I learned from working with people back when I used to work in this group called AmeriCorps, and some really, really, really good minds that I used to work with. And that's basically saying, if you haven't heard it before, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. So basically, prepare and get there early. So if you get there early, you'll never be late. You'll always be on time. Because just think about it. If you're going to a job interview, if you got class to go to, you just got to go to work. If you're already sitting in a parking lot, you'll be on time. Shout out to homie Miss Paul. I used to work with her, and when I would pull up, because a lot of times I'd be partying or doing whatever the night before, because I didn't have any kids at the time, which still is no excuse. But what would happen was I'd pull up in the parking lot, and on the rare occasions I was early. I'd see her out there, and she'd be sitting out there like she'd been out there for forever. And I'd say, Paul, I say, why are you still sitting out? Why are you in the parking lot? She was like, oh, well, I've been here because we didn't have the clock in until 7. Oh, I've been here since 6:20. I was like, 6:20. I was like, you know what? I'm thinking to myself, because I didn't live that far away. I'm thinking to myself, shoot, I'm just getting in the shower at 6:20, right? But anyway, the point is about procrastination. We all have done it. But the thing is that how deep are some of us into it? So like sometimes or you think about, taking a test or, an exam, a final, any of that kind of stuff, and trying to cram in, the work or the things, or even with papers, or reports. When I used to work as a case manager, just different reports that I had to turn in, court reports, different things like that, and me having to have to retrain myself because the amount of paperwork was just ridiculous, right? So having to have to retrain myself how to not procrastinate, right? And that's all I've been talking about all week with this addiction series, if that's what you want to call it, is that, just different things from the viewpoint of what I grew up and have seen, and the different things to me that hold back a lot of people, right? And or even if it's not to necessarily hold them back, but to slow down their progress. Like a lot of us out there, I thought, hey, look, by the time I'm 50, I'm a millionaire. I'm out somewhere. I don't really like water that much, so not on a yacht, but I'm in a penthouse of some New York building or whatever, because I'm this rich and successful guy. And then I go to my house out in the Hamptons or somewhere nice in Pennsylvania, not too far from the city, and everything is going to be great. But the biggest one of my issues has been procrastination. So when you procrastinate, what you do is, in my estimation, is that you put yourself in an extremely precarious situation, because you may want to, your feet may be like this, wanting to race. But if your mind has not said, hey, look, we're going to join our feet and we're going to get to stepping, then it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Like how many of us say, oh yeah, I'm going to get the floors done. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get such and such done. But you know what? I don't have the money right now. Right. Or I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get that done. But I just don't have the time right now. Yeah, well, I was thinking about going on a trip somewhere, but because of such and such and such, instead of just doing it. Like if you think about it, for those of us who are in certain countries, especially here in America, there's a lot of stuff that we can just do. I know I was watching this one this one guy. Shout out to him, it's the Saint and the Sinner, and he was talking to this one guy, and he says the guy's like, well, I'm still living in the land of my captivity, and he said to the guy, dude, you're in a car, like you can go anywhere you want to. And I thought that was a great thing for him to bring up to him, because a lot of times the only thing that's standing in front of us is ourselves. We're the only one standing in front of us. We don't a lot of times take full advantage And it's hard because I get it. You got kids, you got work, you got bills, you got all these other kind of things. But think about the people who have, and I'll just break it down to because it's easier to use celebrities. But like think about people who just didn't procrastinate, people who at a young age were already rich, they were popular, they were whatever. Even people that who you might have gone to school with, who continued studies or doing just different things like that. And now look at where they're at because they didn't procrastinate. Now, is anybody perfect? Is everybody go with everything? No. But on certain major things, when procrastination happens, it is a detriment to you. And the reason why I put it under addiction, because it happens so regularly to some people. And I was one of those people where it just regularly happened, which tied into the marijuana, which tied into women, which tied into different things that made me a procrastinator, which tied into materialism, right? Because how did Nas say that buck that bought the bottle could have struck the lotto, right? So the money I spent, or like I said previously about the Balenciagas I bought, that $700 should have went to something else. I think at the time I even needed a better. I mean, my refrigerator was working fine, but I had always wanted this particular stainless steel refrigerator, and it cost I think about $1,500 to $1,600. So all I had to do was I could have went and did that, but no, what did I do? I had my Neiman Marcus charge card, and I said, hey, listen, go ahead and go get those Balenciagas because you got to look fly at the party, even though you're not going to wear them to the party. But when you procrastinate, all you are is just a dreamer. And, the same way I talk to you, I'm really talking to myself also, not just because I'm looking at myself, but because being relatable is to me the only way to be, because we all got like all of these different things that we have to try to figure out every day, right? But hopefully, there's a sentence or two or something that may spark a difference in you, spark a change in you that sparks a change also in me, where, like I've always wanted to drive cross country, right? And I know my little brother, shout out to Sterling, one of my little brothers, he always wanted to do it. I think he might have done it one time or something like that. He even did something like where he went to, I can't remember which part of Europe it was, may have been Spain, I'm not sure, but he went. And I said, you went by your, and this is about 15 years ago. And I said, you went by yourself? He said, yeah, dog, I went, you know what I mean? I went, I found, different places, everything like that, met some interesting people and all of that. And I was thinking to myself, like, wow, that takes a lot of courage to do. That takes a lot of courage to say, hey, listen, I'm going to do it. Or does it just take good planning and lack of procrastination? Because I've always wanted to go to Europe. Ever since I've been younger. I remember, and I told somebody I used to write plays in Latin when I was a kid, right, for school. And most of my plays centered around, of course, the Roman Empire. That's the reason why I love movies like, Gladiator, 300, because it really focused on, at that particular time, with the essence of a man. You got to fight to stay alive. You got to go hunt to stay alive. You have to, be a man's man in a lot of these situations to stay alive or to be at the top, not just because you're rich, but because you've proven something through being a gladiator. You've proven something through being a soldier, a warrior that really had to go out and fight, right? So it just wasn't based off just handouts, at least from that perception. So the thing that I was enamored with and still am, is the Roman Colosseum. So the Roman Colosseum to me is like the outside of maybe the pyramids in Egypt, is the greatest constructed thing that I feel like I've ever seen for me, because I told you that's what I was into. So, but still, at 50, I still have not been to Rome. There's no excuse for that. Somewhere that I've always wanted to visit, there's no excuse for me not to have been there. But I'm going to tell you what it is. It's the procrastination. It's the putting off on things, right? Even my little sister, shout out Zay, when she was in the armed forces, she was out there. My entire family went. But, my youngest daughter was, on the way or whatever. So I used that as an excuse. Shout out Ava. Shout out Chloe. But I used that as an excuse. And I procrastinated because you know what I really could have done? I could have really just said, here, look, let me just charge the ticket because you know how I go. Once you charge, you going to go. You ever see the thing where you see something and it says, do you want this ticket protected? Do you want such and such and such and such? And you know how we do. Yeah, we'll protect the ticket for $17.99. I look at it and be like, you know what? No, I'm going to go. So we ain't going to even have that issue. I don't care if I got to drag one leg there. I'm going because I already paid for it. Right? Because of my procrastination. Because think about it. All procrastination is the prolonging of action. So you can dream all you want. Even with me sitting here talking to you right now, right? Like I've had a lot of the equipment and just different stuff, for about 3 years. Because my whole thing was that because I'm so heavily into sports, my initial deal was to say, you know what, I'm gonna sit down, and this is like 3, maybe 4 years ago, before like a huge explosion of podcasts, especially with ex-athletes doing it. And I said, I want to sit down and give a viewpoint from the fans' perspective, right, of living in a city that has all 4 major teams in the city. So I'm thinking to myself, I'll do that, but of course, I procrastinated. I went to work. I had this job. I had that job. I was doing this. I was doing that. And then boom, I wound up getting into an accident. And guess what I did? Still procrastinated. Still procrastinated. And, I was like, Dad, but you want to sit down and do these monologues or whatever. But, dude, the first thing you have to do is just start. The thing is that you have to start, even if you only get one person that listens to you. And I'm going to tell you something. I really appreciate all of you who take the time to either click on it, even if you just watch 15 seconds of it, 20 seconds of it, whatever. Because the thing is just that, I'm just a regular guy, just like most of you, or a regular person if you're one of the ladies listening. But the thing that I want to do is that have people that have good minds to say, hey, listen, you know what? Did you hear what he said? Or you know what? I was thinking that same way. Or you know what? I can't believe that happened. Or I'm going through some of the same things currently in my life. Because I remember one person asked me, they said, well, how much you get paid to do that, like for views and everything like that? Well, I'm gonna break it down to you. You first got to get 500 subscribers to even get in any kind of program with YouTube, right? Second thing is that you got to get 1,000 subscribers to even get monetized by the AdSense. And you know what the AdSense wind up coming out to? Like less than, maybe in a lot of situations, 3 cents per however many views. That's how bad it is. So one view doesn't even amount to 1 cent. Just for anybody that wanted to know, in case you were feeling like you wanted to start something and you wanted to sit down in front of a camera or share your knowledge or share your, whatever things that you know how to do, or whatever value you feel like you may provide to someone listening to you. And this is all just being real with it. So it definitely ain't for the money, right? But the thing is just that, how you got so much, sometimes you got so much inside, that there's some things that you feel like you want to share. Now, like all of my friends, because you know how it is, you got a ton of friends or people that are friendly with you. So they've heard all of this. Most of them heard all of or they at least know where my stances are on a lot of things. But, sometimes these conversations that I have with friends can go 2, 3, 4 hours. They can go on and on and on. But, for this sake and the sake of this, I don't want to give you 2, 3 hours of me rambling on and on, talking about stuff, especially when there's no dialogue. So, eventually down the line, we'll get to that. But guess who can't procrastinate? Doing it, me. Right? So just an ending, I just want to say, if you got something that you want to do, if you've always wanted to take that trip, if you've always wanted to go do something for yourself, even if it is something materialistic, then go do it. As long as it doesn't cost you dearly in the future of what you're about to do. Okay. I mean, if you already, like me, got over $10,000 in credit card debt, hey, you may not want to go take that trip to Rome yet. All right. And unless you are able to pay for it cash or bring down the balance of your current credit status, right? Wouldn't do it. But the thing is that, you ready for this? Go do something. Because it's something that we all want to do that we haven't done. It's all a goal that we want to accomplish that we haven't accomplished. Even if it's something small. Even if it's just, saying, hey, look, I haven't been to New York in God knows how long. Get in your car and go. Well, I mean, of course, not right now if you're at work, but go. Even if you got to take your kids and they're younger, go. Because none of the days are ever promised. And so as long as you procrastinate, you'll never know what those days in the future could look like. But until next time, live life. Don't let life live you.